Hello everybody, welcome to number 27, and there is some disturbing news because a recent report has revealed that ever stricter regulations have failed to reduce the emissions of combustion and hybrid engines over the last 12 years. How has this happened? The answer is startlingly simple, and if we don't address it, even the adoption of so-called zero emissions, totally electric vehicles isn't going to resolve this problem. Continuous improvements in engine technology and the introduction of hybrids have made vehicles ever more efficient, and yet a report by the ECA, the European Court of Auditors, has shown that emissions haven't fallen. How is this possible? The elephant in the room is that whilst cars have become more efficient, they have also increased greatly in size and weight, thus negating all the technological advances that have been made. The weight of an average car increased from 2011 to 2022 by 10%. In 2020, the average mass of cars in the UK and the EU increased to 1,457 kilograms. That's 3% higher than 2019 and an incredible 15% higher than 2001. Hybrids that were once claimed as the saviours are really slammed in the report for producing 250% more pollution than claimed. The answer seems obvious: to reduce the weight of vehicles, and yet the recommendation from this report is actually to change the targets from manufacturers from reducing CO2 emissions to producing more electric vehicles. This is absolutely crazy. SUVs use considerably more energy than a medium-sized car, and even a fully electric SUV has the same amount of emissions as a normal-sized combustion car. In 2022, the European Environment Agency, the EEA, stated that the rise in average CO2 emissions of new cars between 2017 and 2019 was mostly due to the increase in the share of sport utility vehicles, SUVs, and other larger and heavier cars. Even more astonishing, the International Energy Agency says if SUVs were an individual country, they would rank 6th in the world for absolute emissions in 2021, emitting over 900 million tonnes of CO2. The IEA report goes on to say that to mitigate emissions from SUVs, the policy framework should focus on constraining their rise. Most shockingly of all, there is some evidence that it is EU regulations themselves that have encouraged the rise of this size and weight of cars. The heavier the car and the more CO2 it is allowed to emit. So this means that if your fleet is heavy, your targets for reduction of CO2 are actually reduced, which is absolutely mental. This is something that goes back to the original debate over this legislation, where German manufacturers in particular, because you can see from this graph, because they tend to make luxury heavy cars, they didn't want those targets to be too harsh, so they lobbied so that they were proportional to the weight of the car. But this has had the adverse effect of encouraging heavier cars. My point here is that whatever power source we use for vehicles, it will pollute, at least to some degree, to produce that power. Therefore, the solution isn't just to push fully electric, it's actually to make smaller, lighter, more efficient cars. This has a huge amount of advantages. Lighter, smaller cars will be less complex, therefore cheaper to produce. I understand that safety regulations mean that making a car as light as in the 1970s isn't going to be possible, but do we really need the plethora of luxury items that come almost as standard with most modern cars? Things like heated seats, electric seats, heated steering wheel, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure there's a way of making vehicles much more efficient, and of course the easiest way to make them lighter is to make them smaller. We do not need vehicles that weigh up to 2 tonnes to ferry 100 kilos worth of passengers maybe on the school run. Making cars light has knock-on effects and actually becomes a self-fulfilling thing. So once the car is lighter, you can start to use smaller brakes. Once you start to use smaller brakes, smaller tyres, smaller wheels, it becomes lighter still. You can use a smaller battery, and the weight is therefore reduced. That also means you have less wear and tear on our roads. the heavy behemoths that we have today are actually contributing to the terrible state of the road system here in the UK. Electric cars are of course part of the solution, but they have initiated a very dangerous trend. Not only are they naturally quite a bit heavier than internal combustion engine cars, but because they are, in theory, emissions free, nobody is looking at the impact and the amount of energy that is being used by ever bigger, ever heavier cars. All electricity that is produced pollutes, even that from renewable sources. Instead of concentrating on making these electric vehicles ever more efficient, what manufacturers are doing is using ever bigger batteries. That is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And if you happen to use the whole performance, you are still using a huge amount of energy and polluting even more. Of course, in the long run, electric vehicles are more efficient. But our aim must be to use less electricity altogether. That also means that we don't have to worry so much about the state of the grid and producing ever more power when it really isn't needed. So how do we achieve this? The solution is simple and it is fair. For a while it looked like SUVs might just be a fad, but it has now become clear that what we want are big, heavy cars. So simply informing people of what the consequence of that is isn't going to be enough. The only way that I can see to change things is to tax vehicles not only on their emissions, but also on their weight. And this is crucial, not just on their weight, also on their weight. This has some big advantages. For a start, it can't be faked. Emissions regulations can be cheated. Manufacturers can set up their cars to pass emissions in certain conditions. The weight of a car is the weight of a car. When it leaves the factory, it should be weighed and then proportionally taxed. The reason why I say when it leaves the factory is because obviously options also make a big difference. It is fair because your 2.2 ton Range Rover is going to be doing a lot more damage to the roads than a little 1.2 ton Super Mini. This system will lead to less emissions no matter what the method of propulsion is, whether it's combustion, electric, or whatever else. Not just that, but because cars are going to be lighter, smaller and simpler, they will cost less to produce, but also the production process itself will be less polluting. The real impact of toxic substances from the wear on tyres and brake pads, things like that, is only just becoming apparent. It is the next big scandal waiting to happen. Having lighter cars would also lead to a huge reduction in the emissions of these particles and substances. Ultimately, if you still want your big car, your big 4x4, you still can. You just have to pay your fair share. But I hear you say this will unfairly disadvantage electric cars. Not necessarily. I think that initially electric cars could be given a 5 to 10% leeway in terms of weight, and given time, manufacturers would start working to make cars more efficient instead of relying on bigger batteries. But also we have to consider that even now a Fiat 500e is only 1.5 tons, still heavy for a little car, but nothing compared to the sort of bigger SUVs and other big electric cars. And even say a BMW i3, which is really big enough for a family, that only weighs 1.5 tons as well. It's all about how these cars are designed, and it started well. The i3 is a prime example that was designed the right way. But at some point, that all went wrong, perhaps also because of this legislation, and we started aiming for a completely different kind of car, the wrong kind of car. I think the other counterpoint that I can hear to this is that it will penalise families because they tend to need bigger cars, but ultimately they will have to make a choice. A 4x4, an SUV, isn't the only option out there. An estate is lighter, much more efficient aerodynamically, and still works for a family. If you still want to go the other way, then you just have to pay for it. After all, it does come down to that. We are paying our road tax for wear on our roads, to keep our roads the way they are, and then also to try and encourage people onto cars that pollute less. And this system, I think, is the best way forward. If you have any ideas on how you think that this can be further improved and that we can encourage vehicles to head in the other direction, make them smaller, make them lighter, then please do let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's hope that things can change, because you never know. Making cars lighter and smaller may also make them fun again. Thank you and see you soon.